Okay, so people ask me all the time, I want to start investing, but I don't know where to invest my money. Where is the best place to invest my money? And that really boils down to the three main areas of what you should do or where you should invest your money. In this video, I'm going to talk about each one of the three main areas to invest your money, and we're going to talk a little bit about if it's the right fit for you. Welcome to the channel. My name is Paris Clough, and this is Financial Self-Reliance. I absolutely love helping people manage, protect, and grow their money. In fact, one of my favorite things is to help people understand how to invest their money more effectively and more appropriately. Now, before anybody invests, I highly recommend that you lay a strong foundation. Make sure that you're on your way to being out of debt. Make sure that you have your emergency fund in place. Make sure that you know and understand your expenses and your income, and you have a strong positive cash flow. The reason why you want to have a positive cash flow is because the dollars that you have that are extra are the dollars that you're going to use to invest for your future. Now, most people, when they think about investing, what they really want to do is they want to create an asset that will give them the time freedom that they're looking for. We always talk about financial freedom, and that's true, and we want financial freedom. But financial freedom really gives you time freedom. And that's what we really want, is that ability to be able to do the things we want to do whenever we want to do them. So when you're looking at investments or what you should do and how you should invest your money, you're going to want to look at passive investments or investments that create passive income streams, or at least as passive as possible. Now, the three main areas to build a passive income or to invest your money, let's start with the easiest one first. The first one is the stock market. Now, a lot of people get really scared and overwhelmed by what's going on in the stock market, and that's true, and that's totally viable, because when you look at all the different stocks and the different ratios and the different ways to invest and which companies should you choose and which ones are going to go up and which ones are going to go down. Well, the good news is that about 80 to 85% of the best money managers in the world can't predict the future on any given company. So the reality is you want to pick a good, strong companies that you know, companies that have been around, and quite frankly, if you're not quite sure about which company individually to choose, then just go with an index fund. An index fund is probably the best way. In fact, Warren Buffett said that if he was to give advice to his family, he would tell them to just pick an index fund and ride that, because honestly, 80 to 85% of money managers can't beat the index anyways. So you're going to be better off just picking the index fund of your choice and then moving along with that. Now, the index fund that I chose was VOO. And VOO is the S&P 500, and it goes through all of the S&P 500 stocks and the index for the S&P 500 in America, in the United States. And the other one that I really like is VTI. And VTI is actually the total stock market. So it does all of the stock market, not just the top 500. Another thing that I like to do with stocks is something called dividend investing. And dividend investing is one of my favorite things. In fact, I have a dividend journey that I've gone on and I'm on right now to build up a dividend portfolio that's going to pay me $1,000 a month. The stock market can be a great way for you to make long-term money. However, it's not going to be a fast play. It may not even be a midterm play unless you learn to do things like options trades and other things which are a lot more advanced than we're going to get into in this video. But the stock market is one of those long-term, slow and steady wins the race kind of a portfolio builders. If you want to build good, strong value, then you want to get an index fund where you just put in money away every month, and then that will grow about 8 or 9% until you get to the time you retire, and then you can just live off of that money and then pull down from that money. If you want to build a dividend portfolio where the dividends continue to pay, that's another excellent way to kind of build a stock market portfolio. The second way that I would suggest building towards wealth and creating wealth is to buy real estate. There's so many opportunities in real estate. The first part of buying real estate is you ought to own your own home first to kind of get a feel for how that goes. But if that's not what you want to do, that's not necessarily a requirement. However, owning a property is something that's passive to a point where unless you pay for a property management firm, you're going to have a little bit of work to do to maintain that property. So buying real estate, single family residences, probably the best thing to do is to buy duplexes or buy apartment homes. Now, a lot of my friends who started off in real estate world, they'll buy a single family home at a low price, they'll fix it up a little bit, and then they'll either flip it or they'll rent it out. So it depends on what you want to do. In fact, I just had a guy recently ask me a question. He's built a home that's a small home, and he wants to know if he should Airbnb it or if he should sell it and then take the money and build 2 homes. So what I told him was to sell this particular one because it's the first one he's built, then take that money and buy 2 and then build those 2, and then take those 2 and sell them and then build and buy 4, and then you have 4, and do that over and over again until you get to the point where you can rent them out, or you can Airbnb them, or you can cash flow them, and then your cash flow from those rental properties is going to be able to pay for all of your expenses, and then you actually obtain what's called time freedom. That's one of the fastest ways to be able to do that. Now, you can do Airbnb arbitrage, that's another thing that's in real estate right now that's really popular. The more units that you own, like in a duplex, for example, let's say you bought a duplex and you lived in one side and you rented out the other side. That's a great way to get started in real estate. Another thing you can do, especially if you're young and single, is you can buy a home and then rent it out to some roommates and you all share the cost, and you can actually end up living there for free and having your mortgage paid for by your roommates. And that's another great way, because as soon as you get married, then maybe you and your spouse can move off to the next house, and then you have a house that you bought when you were single and young that you can then rent or Airbnb or do a bunch of other stuff, and you build your portfolio like that. So real estate is not really my forte. So I highly recommend that you do some research if you're going to get into real estate. If you like that hands-on, the ability to look at real property, go out and visit properties, have tenants calling you, maybe working with a property management firm at some point, you're going to want to eventually move to a point where you're having a property management firm take care of it for you, because you're not going to want to fix toilets all day long. And whether you buy them, fix them up and flip them, or you buy them and you rent them out, there's a lot of options in the real estate category. Now, the third category is where I built my passive income, and I have a substantial passive income that pretty much pays for a lot of my expenses, if not all of them. And then what happens is you get to the point where you have a passive income that's paid for your expenses, and you have kids and you have homes and you have toys that you want to get, your expenses kind of grow. So your passive income needs to grow along with that. But then you got to realize that as time goes on, as life goes on, you're going to have to increase that and keep working to build a passive income. One of the misnomers about passive income is that you don't have to do any work. And there are those opportunities, don't get me wrong, where you just kind of do the work once and then you set it, forget it. And my business is kind of like that. That's, by the way, the third category, is to build a business. Now, whether you're building a business that's a brick and mortar business, or you're building an online business, having a business entity or a business that pays you over and over again is probably the fastest way to build wealth. Now, real estate is a pretty fast way. Stock market is slower, but it's faster than nothing. It's definitely faster than a savings account. It's easier, in my opinion, to start a business, because you can start a business from scratch and for practically nothing. In fact, for a few $100s, you can start a business. I don't know where you can buy a property for a few $100s, then you're immediately cash flowing it. So starting a business is what I chose to do, and I've built a strong residual income, a passive residual income, and it took me about 10 years to build it. So when you're looking at a passive income, you got to realize that this is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a couple of years, although it could. Don't get me wrong, and don't sell yourself short. What most people can do in a couple of years today is it used to take 5 to 10 years to do. So this is the right time, especially with social media and all the different options that people have. The third category of building a business is going to be a great way for you to actually build up something that will pay you a passive income for the rest of your life, with minimal to little work to do to maintain that. So I hope this video helps you really understand, if you're going to start out investing, where do you want to put your money? Do you want to put your money in the stock market, kind of set it and forget it, just invest continually into either dividend stocks or into the index? Or do you want to get hands-on, a little more hands-on, and get into real estate and try to really figure out how to buy properties, fix them up and sell them, or buy properties and rent them out? Or do you want to build a business because you have a product or a service or a solution to a problem that's on the market that you can really answer that problem? So when people ask me what's the best investment, and I share with them these three options, the best investment is actually the one that caters to them the most, the one that kind of lights them up the most, the one that they feel the most comfortable starting off with. I started off building a passive income business. That's where I started. All my effort, all my resources, all my extra money went into building my business. Now that that's passive income, I'm building a portfolio now. I'm doing dividend portfolio, and I'm doing an index portfolio on Webull and on M1 Finance. And I am definitely interested in and moving towards and really learning more about how to invest in and start my real estate portfolio. So those are the three main areas for investments. I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you missed the last video that I made, you can catch it here. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel up here, and go ahead and check out this video that YouTube thinks you might like. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.